Yeah, we have resumed. But there are still a lot of work to be done there. There's no conference room, so we are working on a lot of things there. So we have resumed. There's no problem about it. The governor have asked us to go there. We are going. I am, like I always tell people, I am a loyal servant. There's nothing that has changed. I took a personal vow to support my governor, and you can see my Catholic people are here. Everything about me, if I have a vow with God, there's nothing that will change it. And I can only wish that that relationship that we have, I pray, I know in the next few days and weeks, it will come back. I'm missing my governor really, but by the grace of God, I know God will touch the governor's heart and touch all of us. And even those that are trying to be in between, God will touch them to know that I mean well. If there's any mistake that I've made as human, it's just human. It's not out of maybe wickedness, because I'm not wicked. I have a very clean heart. And I will use the medium too to appeal to Mr. Governor. If there's anything that I don't know that I've done, please forgive me, so that we can develop our state together. We have just less than how many months? Just 1 year to go. We have been the envy of the entire country. It's still possible. So, Mr. Governor, please, if there's anything you feel that I've done, I am sorry. I need us to work together to finish well and strong, because that is my prayer for you.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back. That soundbite takes us to the next leg of our conversation. And it's not just in Edo State. In those states, the deputy governor also appears to be in the eye of the storm over allegations that some consider a ruse that has, produced impeachment proceedings against him. And, just as you saw in Edo State, the deputy governor may have eaten the humble pie with that public apology to his boss. That causes, some deep reflection about the office and powers and functions of the deputy governors in the country. Is it just, an appendage to the governor, or are there more powers, that the deputy governor should have? We have joining us to help us expand and give us further insight into that conversation, Mr. Onweze Okocha, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes. By the way, Mr. Okocha joins us via Zoom. So as we start off, should we look at both cases independently based on their merit, or are they the same? And where does it leave the powers and office of the deputy governors in the country?
Well, I don't know about looking independently at all cases, but I believe the law is clear on the point. The old cliche is that deputy governors are like spare tires. They stay in the boot. Nobody uses a spare tire if all the four tires are working. The truth of the matter, and this is the legal position, is that the vice president, in this case we are talking about the deputy governor, has no specifically assigned functions under the Constitution. Indeed, it is only the governor of a state that can assign responsibilities to his deputy or to any of the commissioners in the state executive council. So a deputy governor does not really have any responsibility until the governor has assigned the responsibility to him. So clearly, no deputy governor can claim to have executive authority over any matter in the state until it has been assigned to him by the governor.
And should that change in the light of what's playing out in states? And, this also has precedent if we consider, past cases where deputy governors have been impeached.
Yes, deputy governors can be impeached, just as governors can be impeached. The Constitution has not been changed, and until it is changed, the situation still remains the same. The constitutional provisions with regard to the matter must regulate the particular circumstances that are now under purview.
I was asking if that should change.
I don't think it should change because the reality of our situation in Nigeria is that when people are given powers, subordinate powers as they may be, they tend to overstep their bounds. The governor is the chief executive of a state, just like the president is the chief executive of the federation of the country. So I don't think it should change. Let things remain as they are. And you see, a governor usually has a prerogative to pick who should be his running mate. And it is expected that that running mate, if they eventually win, becomes deputy governor and will exhibit what we call total loyalty and support for his governor. So it's unheard of that a deputy governor will begin to assert authority which he does not have, to the detriment of the governor.
I'm glad you used the word loyalty. That brings me to my next question. Amid this crisis, the deputy governor had said during one of his interactions with the press that loyalty is different from ambition. So where does a deputy governor begin to cross the line? Is it an offense, an impeachable offense that warrants the kind of treatment that has gone to the Edo State deputy governor for you to consider pursuing political ambition before your tenure with your principal expires?
No. Everybody is entitled to be ambitious. It is not an offense to aspire to be a governor when you're a deputy governor. But in the nature of human relations, you should at least discuss the matter with your governor and get his blessing. He may not give you support, but he may be able to say, okay, I bless you, good luck. And all we know is that the political parties are the vehicles by which they run elections. And you go to your political party and seek support there. But I think it is critical that the governor, being the leader of the party in the state, you should, in all decency, seek his support, seek his blessing. If he gives you, thank God. If he doesn't, then you are walking on your own and go on your own steam. He doesn't owe any apology to be ambitious. He is entitled to it, just like every other Nigerian is entitled to it. So to that extent, there is nothing wrong in seeking to aspire to the office of governor. And I would be surprised that anybody would begin to put too many stumbling blocks along the way. Cooperate with your colleague. You've worked with him for 8 years or more, 8 years or so, and allow him to pursue his own political ambition. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I find it interesting, the other time when you referenced the fact that the governor had the prerogative to select who would be his running mate. Without that running mate, who would become deputy? That fellow cannot be governor. That fact was even further espoused in the case, in the election that brought in that, the person who would have been governor in Bayelsa State, I think, when the deputy was found to be at fault in one way or the other. And affected the responsibility, where the election of the governor at the time. So if it is that important for a governor to have a running mate, how could it be so easy for them to fall off politically or in other way while they are in office?
Let me say this. The requirements for being elected, being nominated, being elected are different. After you've been elected and you've assumed office, different considerations will apply. And you will look at the Constitution and see what is exactly my role and function as a deputy governor. And the Constitution says clearly that you can exercise only those functions and perform those duties that have been delegated to you, that have been assigned to you by the governor. And of course, nobody can begin to exercise a function or perform a duty that has not been assigned to him. So this is the point that needs to be made to all those who are deputy governors, who are vice presidents for that matter. Until the president assigns a function to you, until the governor assigns a function to you, you just stay there and wait until a circumstance may arise. You remember, if there's something like impeachment of the governor, the deputy governor automatically will assume the position. If there's a death or incapacitation of the governor, the deputy governor will automatically ascend to the position. But until those situations occur, the deputy governor, as I said earlier, jocular as it may sound, is just a spare tire. And the spare tire becomes useful when the main tires are no longer working.
Okay. Well, help us understand how much of this is political and how much of this has to do with governance. Because to a good number of people, it's like it's a waste. Well, it's perhaps different for the vice president, who has a role to play as chairman of the Economic Council, the National Economic Council. But for the states, it's a little different. Isn't it a waste then? So if anything needs to happen, what would you recommend? Because without the deputy governor, the governor cannot come into office. And coming into office, you are assigned no role whatsoever. Of course, it's something known to everyone. But in terms of the politics of it, in terms of the governance issues of it, what are the things you would recommend as someone who has seen the scope of the law in this case?
Let me say this. It's not really a waste. As you may know, there are certain laws, there are certain regulations that also have certain assignments to be performed by the deputy governor, like boundary commissions or boundary committees of states, for instance. The deputy governor chairs those committees in the states. The deputy governor also from time to time stands in for the governor if the governor is not available to perform functions. The deputy governor is also a member of the executive council and can contribute to debates at the executive council of the state. So it's not really a waste to have a deputy governor. And you know, anything can happen. A governor may have such a tight schedule and he says, I'm going here, you go there and represent me. And they will state the position of the state. So I don't think it is really a waste. The point is that sometimes ambition and political interests may make some deputy governors to overstep their bounds. And they should be advised that it is not necessary to do so. Hold your ambition. Discuss it with your chief executive. He may bless you, he may support you, but even at that, just hold your ambition until the appropriate time when you can now make your position known.
Well, it's interesting that you put it that way, because, I mean, if it's just because, you know, the deputy governor can easily step in, I'm not sure if it is as easy as that, because we remember what happened when former President Yar'Adua passed, that we had to invoke a doctrine of necessity while there was a vice president in office. So that is against that backdrop. So speaking to the political angle of this conversation, Mr. Kocha, you have said that some of these things have political consideration. It speaks to then maybe the political class needs some education, political education, if I can put it that way. What do they need to know? And what do they need to keep in check so that we don't have this kind of, because it's happened since 1999.
Yes, let me say this. They need to know first that their responsibilities that are called executive responsibilities, and these are vested in the chief executive of the governor of the states, namely the governor of the federation, namely the president. Once people know that, they know that it is the president or the governor that is the main man. Every other person there is, let me use the word advisedly, an appendage. Vice president, deputy governor, ministers, commissioners, and they are given assignment by the chief executive. And you perform what is assigned to you. If nothing is assigned to you specifically, you wait and just carry on in your office. You have an office, you go to the executive council, you attend state functions, and so on and so forth. So that has to be cleared. Now, you refer to the case of when the president, the Yaradua, was ill, and the so-called doctrine of necessity. Nigerians came up with that gimmick because some people were not prepared to accept that we had a president who was so ill he could not perform the duties of his office. We didn't need to go to that stage. They could have empaneled a medical board to have given a medical report that the president cannot perform. And once the president cannot perform, he will be removed from office and the vice president will automatically assume that office. But because we were being swayed by those who thought they had the armed forces on their side, all this came about. It was not necessary to go to that stage. But that is in the past now. So clearly, the point that should be made is that the chief executive of the state is the governor. And the vice deputy governor has no specific role until a specific role is assigned to him, either by the governor or by any other law or statute. I just cited the Boundary Commission law of the states. Well, so this is the reality of the situation. We would like to politicize things.
My apologies. Let me just ask this quick one before we wrap it all up. Is there a role for political parties in this? Because sometimes the challenges begin within the political parties, the crisis within the parties spill off or spill over into the offices of these governors, deputy governors, and the rest of them. So is there a role for political parties to ensure that such things don't happen in the states?
There is no constitutional role for political parties in this instance. But there is what we call human intellect and human ability to reason, human ability to use our humanity and our intellect to mediate. We cannot, like a political party, see our governor and our deputy governor at loggerheads and allow that to continue. It may lead to crisis and may even cause detriment to the interest of the political party. So the party elders have a responsibility, moral as it is, not legal, to call the two warring parties together and say, see, this is where the line should be drawn. This is what you should do. This is what you should not do. So this is the reason why you have political parties, because it is an association of like minds who have a party ideology that they believe serves their best interests when they want to pursue political ambition. So yes, the party elders, the party itself can intervene and try and broker amicable resolution of difficulties like this between a governor and his deputy.
And indeed, we've had in the past cases where, you know, the impeachment of deputy governors was overturned by the court. And I wonder if the political parties have a role to play in that regard. But don't answer that. We're totally out of time. I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Onweze Okocha, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who joined us via Zoom to weigh in on this conversation. Thank you very much for being on the program.